Hello, Tennessee. Welcome once again to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagy. They're the co-founders of Allon Planning Partners. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. I always enjoy being with you guys, and I just got to ask, what's on your mind this week?
What's on our mind? We have some stories on our mind today.
Good.
Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story to tell, and we would rather learn from the experiences of others than to pay our own often really high tuition by learning the hard way, by experiencing it ourselves. And so we want to share a few stories throughout the show today that express some of those concerns and things that we can learn. Let's learn from the experiences, both positive and negative, of others and implement those in our own lives.
Fantastic, folks. If this is one of the first times that you're joining us, Jay and Brittany are financial advisors. They are the co-founders of Allon Planning Partners. And every week we try to provide you retirement planning solutions, ideas, thoughts. We want to encourage you to talk with your spouses and your family on your own retirement planning. But as financial advisors with a firm that is registered as a fiduciary, we have your best interests in mind, and we want to make sure that you get your own written financial plan. We'll tell you how to do that throughout today's program. But today we're going to do storytelling. Retirement storytelling. I love that. So where do we want to start?
I've got a fun one to start off with. Cool. I love this story. We talked about this on a recent radio show. We just had a ball talking through this situation, but this guy's name was Ronald Reed. You may or may not have heard of him. He's not a client of ours. He lived. He's no longer living. You probably haven't heard of him, but he was an everyday janitor. He mopped the floors at JCPenney and made a decent salary, decent wage, and he lived his life. He bought a home for, I don't know, somewhere around, I think, $28,000, somewhere around there, and he paid it off pretty quick, and he lived below his means. Now, we're talking $28,000. We're talking like a long time ago. We're talking 50, 60 years ago, okay? This isn't like this happened last
2005.
I should have clarified that. Yeah, right. So, but he lived within his means. He enjoyed his life, enjoyed his family, but lived within his means. And he passed away. And when he passed away, his family members were shocked at what they found. I mean, absolutely shocked at what they found, because he passed away with over $8 million to his estate. $8 million. The year that he passed away, over 2.8 million passed, but only 1,400 of those people had a net worth of over 8 million. Ronald Reed was one of them. Pretty powerful story. Everybody began thinking, what did he do? Was he into something shady? Like, how did he get this money? What was this guy doing on the side? But here's the thing. He wasn't doing anything shady. All he did was take the interest, take the income he made, and he invested it. He invested it in blue chip stocks. And he ended up, after decades of investing, with $8 million in net worth. Yeah. He was patient. He put his money to work for him. And that's the lesson we want to talk about today.
Do you think he maybe had some 1970s, some Apple and Nike in there? And,
I'm sure. Blue chip stocks, that's what we're talking about. He was patient, though, and he persisted. He was willing to save money away. He lived below his means, so he lived smart, but he also was willing to put away, to plan ahead in a way to say, hey, this money will do something for me in the future. And he did.
You may or may not get to $8 million, right? When I say that, but like it's the delayed gratification, because we a lot of times live in a society that we want it now. We live in a microwave society. We want what we want right now, right? But the issue is you have to be patient. You have to have persistence, and you have to let your money work for you over time. And that's what we see in the story of Ronald, and that's why it's something to be looked at in high esteem, because he did the hard work, he did it right, and man, he was able to change generations of his family through the way that he invested his simple dollars.
And there's a second story. I won't tell you this gentleman's name, but he lived a very different lifestyle. He made more money on one deal than Ronald Reed made in his entire life. Okay, so he was a very wealthy man. He lived extravagantly. He enjoyed what he did, and he spent. He spent above his means, and he overextended. And unfortunately, 2008 hit. And when 2008 hit, he lost everything he had. He had bought a $11 million home, and it went to nothing when that happened. And he couldn't pay his bills. He couldn't keep up with the lifestyle that he had created for himself on that income. He was already in debt, okay? So even though he was making an insane amount of money, he was still living in debt. And then when 2008 hit, he lost it all. And when he passed away with nothing. Drastic difference between these two people. Somebody who made very little and made his money work for him and ended up with something, right? Something of real value to pass on. And I didn't tell you this, Ronald Reed, actually, he passed on $2 million to his stepchildren, but then he gave $6 million to charitable organizations that he was passionate about. And so what a gift to be able to do that. So Ronald Reed was able to do that, where this other gentleman made insane amounts of money, but he ended up at the end of his life not even having what he needed to make his mortgage payment. Two very different stories, very difficult to hear the outcome of this second one. And the basic concept here is don't live above your means. Don't live above your means. If you have an income of $100,000, don't go spend $150,000 a year. Your future self will look back and be like, what were you thinking? And that's where we come in as financial advisors, as comprehensive financial planners, to help you talk about things like this, your financial health, not just investments, not just tax planning, but things like your financial health and ensuring you are on track now, because what you do now, the decisions you make now, will impact your future. And we want you to be set up for success.
That's right.
So we want to offer this complimentary consultation where we can walk you through our process. We can talk through all of these scenarios and situations when it comes specifically to you, your assets, your income, your questions. 866-691-7317. You could also use the QR code you see there on the screen and schedule a complimentary consultation directly from our website. You don't even have to pick up the phone if you don't want to, but reach out today for your complimentary portfolio review.
We learn just as much from the mistakes as others as we do about the successes. That's why today on the Allon Exchange, we're talking about financial planning stories that Jay and Brittany experience every single day in their offices. We're going to have more financial planning stories when we get back. Call the phone number down here that you see on the screen or use that QR code so you can get started on your own written financial plan for retirement. More of the Allon Exchange right after this.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagy. They are financial advisors and the co-founders of Allon Planning Partners. Real quick, I just wanted to ask you once, Brittany, the tree, a beautiful logo back here, but it means something very special to you.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Allon is the Hebrew word for oak tree, and we chose that symbol for a number of reasons. Number one, it comes from actually a passage of scripture in Psalms 1 that talks about a tree being planted by the water that produces fruit in its season, and that even in times of drought, it does not stop from producing that fruit, right? It has what it needs because it's got those roots that grow down deep into the soil to get the water it needs. That's the kind of comprehensive financial plans we craft for those individuals and families we work with, ones that thrive in every season and that can make it through the economic cycles that we experience so that you can thrive no matter what is happening within our society or economy.
I love that story in itself because you said something and you stumbled on it, but I know why it was so important is that even in times of drought, the tree might not look like it's thriving, but there's enough internal resources. And honestly, that's part, I'm sorry, of putting together a financial plan.
That's right.
The markets are not always going to be great.
That's right.
We're in high inflationary times. We could be in a recession for a long time. But with a plan, with deep roots that match your goals and objectives, you can still achieve your retirement goals.
And that's the story we want our clients to tell. That's the story that we have put together, but we want our clients to tell that story. The story of, hey, I know that I'm positioned and have a full comprehensive financial plan that even when we hit those seasons of drought, even when recession hits, even when the economy goes negative, that I know that I will continue to thrive. It may not always look like it. There may not be
some leaves off the tree.
There may not be apples hanging off the tree every day, but we are alive and we are thriving in every season that we're in. And so that brings me to our next story. The next story is actually a parable told in Matthew 25, and a lot of folks that we meet with know this parable, but I'll just go ahead and paraphrase it. This is the J version, okay? So the J version is you have a boss that gives his employees each a bit of money and says, okay, employee number 1, I'm going to give you $5,000. Employee number 2, I'm going to give you $10,000. Employee number 3, I'm going to give you $1,000. And so the first 2 guys that he gave money to, they took that money and they both doubled the money. So they were pretty good investors. They took it and they said, hey, I turned 5 into 10. I turned 10 into 20. Like, I give it back to me. I'm going to be happy if I'm a boss and my employees are doubling my money, right? Well, the third guy, he says, well, I was scared because of whatever. Maybe the market was volatile in those times. Maybe the banking crisis was happening. Who knows what was happening, but I was scared. I actually dug a ditch and put it in the ditch, and so I didn't want to lose you anything. That's what we call lazy money. and so that's, literally he was turned away, and, the money that he had was given to the first servant that made his master double. So what I want to say with that, and what I want us to understand is, even though there are risks in anything that we're investing in, we can't have lazy money, and this is not emergency fund money. We have to have some liquidity sitting on the sideline. But money above and beyond liquidity, I believe we have to have invested in some way. Why not just even put it in something that's bearing interest? Well, maybe it's a treasury bond or a CD or whatnot that you can get interest on. But we do not want to have lazy money, because at the end of the day, we've already talked about this. It's going backwards anyways. And it's going backwards with things like inflation, because we are losing purchasing power.
Well, and that's the thing I wanted to mention about this story, that the guy who buried the money is actually pretty relatable to some people we meet with today. People who take the money.
I was going to say that there's got to be the people who are nervous, afraid.
They put it in a safety deposit box or literally under their mattress. And that's driven by fear. But the thing is, what they're trying to do is protect their money, right? But in reality, what they're doing is losing purchasing power. And actually, their value of their dollars is decreasing because of it. So what they intended to protect is actually having a negative or an adverse reaction to what the action they're taking. So, man, you have got to think about making your money work for you and not being driven, like we talk about so often, by fear, making those fear-based decisions that keep us from putting our money where it should be.
And this isn't just a pitch today. This isn't just something you're alarming people about. We're living it. We're living it right now.
We're in it.
Inflation nearly tripled last year. It's holding it, I'd say, at least double. They say the numbers have come down. Personally, I don't necessarily believe it.
We don't feel it.
You try to buy a new car or a used car lately, try to put in a swimming pool, try to redo the driveway, you try to take the kids on vacation. I know you're taking them to the Grand Canyon.
Absolutely.
Did the cost go down on that to come across the country?
It did not go down.
Absolutely not.
So we see that inflation, and it's constantly there. So while it's a wonderful parable, I understand, but just burying the money right now or keeping it in the savings accounts, we do have to take into account inflation. Inflation today is real. It's one of those factors that actually exists. Have you tried to buy eggs recently? Even going out to a movie together, the costs have doubled on there. Now, what I want to ask you, in fear of that, are there ways that we can achieve returns without taking too much risk today? I'm saying without being too much into the stock market.
Absolutely, and I want to talk about those, but first I want to talk about the mindset there, because the mindset of you're working for money, right? That is the first level of that we get to when it comes to finances. I'm working for money. I get $1 for the hour that I put in. But we have to raise up and we have to help people call up to say, hey, I want the money working for you. Not just you working for money, I want money working for you.
Right.
And so if I can get to that level and let money work for me, there are absolutely low to no risk-free yields in different areas of the market right now. We could lay out 10 of those for you and just give you the options that you have. If you'd like to come in for that complimentary review, if you've got money sitting on the sideline right now that is going backwards, you need to get it working for you. You can no longer have the mentality of, I'm going to work for my money and bury it, but I want my money working for me, and that's what we want to help our folks get to.
What if most of your assets or savings are in those retirement accounts at work? Same thing. Can you still help them? I mean, they'll probably go to their plan administrator, or they think, well, I don't need a financial advisor yet. I'm still working.
Yeah, so much of what we do, obviously it's way more than just the investments. We talk about that all the time, about how it's not just about the investments. So many people think that their investment is their financial plan, or they consider their investment their financial plan, but it's so much broader. We talk about taxes, we talk about income planning, we talk about health care and making sure all those expenses are covered, legal documents, and all that needs to be taken into consideration. There's so many factors to consider when it comes to all of that. So it's much broader. And so often we end up looking at the larger picture with our clients, which includes their current 401k. If they're still working and they have options within their current 401k provider, we're able to help them navigate through where and how they should be invested within that based on our conversations and what they say their risk tolerance is, how they feel when their money goes up and down, and what their goals are. All of these things taken into consideration. So absolutely we help them with that. And a lot of those folks, we end up transitioning some funds and rolling them over into an IRA simply because they have many more options for investing. And if they're over 59 and a half, or you're over 59 and a half, that's an option to consider simply because you have many more vehicles at your disposal. You can put that in real estate. You could put an IRA in equities or bonds or mutual funds.
Commodities,
You could put commodities, really anything. Whereas with your 401k provider, you are limited as to what your employer offers. So we broad coverage there.
Well, we're going to take a short break right now, but speaking of storytelling, I think some people would like to know a little bit more about your own stories as well. Jay, tell us about the website. We've got some information there. You've got your live events there. You've got your podcast there. You can find a lot more about your stories there.
You can find out a lot about us and our story there. You can find out about who Allon is and why we do what we do, right? Most importantly, we have it listed out there. But also you can find, like Spike said, our live events. You can find podcasts. You can find where we're on radio and on TV. Maybe there are other times that would be more convenient for you. You can look at our YouTube channel and see a lot of resources that we have available for you just about education. So take a look at that, www.allonplanning.com.
More with Jay and Brittany Hagy of Allon Planning Partners. We're doing retirement planning stories, the kinds of stories that they experience with folks just like yourselves who come into the offices and get together to put on their own written financial plan. Folks, it's real easy for you as well. It starts by calling the phone number or using that QR code. Come on in so you can get started on your own written retirement plan. More of the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany, myself, Spike, when we get back right after this.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Ben. Hey, birthday party for Carol and 5. Happy birthday to you.
Good morning, Ben. Happy Monday.
Daryl's birthday, be there or be square. Happy birthday to you. As you can see from our quarterly report on slide number 62, we're trending in the right direction. All signs point to a very positive outlook for the next several years. If you peel back the onion...
Ben, do you have anything to add?
The The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back. You're with Jay and Brittany Hagy, co-founders of Allon Planning Partners. They are financial advisors, and their firm is registered as a fiduciary, which means everything that we try to help you with has your best interest in mind. Independent financial advisors right here in Tennessee. I'm your host, Spike Spangle, and today we're doing storytelling, and I like this, but it's probably got to be difficult to shift your mindset. Going from all of those accumulation years, the saving to, okay, I'm going to go into retirement, now I got to spend this money. You have any stories on the shifting of mindset or helping folks with that?
Yeah, we do. We have a story. Some of you may actually have heard this story, I'm not sure, but Jack Bogle, if you've heard of him, Vanguard founder, passed away in 2019. And he tells this story, and it's pretty interesting. He tells the story of a billionaire who just made insane amounts of money. And they were at this party, and there was the billionaire who made a ton of money year over year over year. And then there was also another gentleman who had earned a decent wage, but this one gentleman earned way more in one deal than this man made in his entire lifetime. And they were having a conversation, you know, someone else observing the two scenarios and the differences in their lifestyles and their income and everything. And someone asked the man who made less, you know, said, you know, man, he made more in this one deal today than you made in your entire lifetime. And he responded with, yes, that's true, but I will have something that he will never have. I will have enough. I do have enough. And I think that's pretty profound because he realized when enough is enough. And the way that this really relates to what we're talking about with retirement, it really comes to the mindset shift that is required when you get to the point of retirement, to actually pull the trigger and say, today's the day, let's make the transition. It is really hard to take those assets that you have worked so hard to build up and accumulate, and then to begin taking down or drawing down from those accounts. That can be a really hard transition for folks. And it's really important to be able to determine when is enough?
Yeah.
Because we've experienced some scenarios, even with our own clients, you know, who are at the place where they can retire. They have earned a healthy living, or they have saved, whether they made a mediocre living and they have saved and done exceptional, or made great money and done it, however they've done it, they've gotten to the place where they have more than enough to live the lifestyle they want. But they cannot pull the trigger because it's something in their minds that says, I need more, I have to earn more. Sometimes we can over-correlate dollars with security and stability. Yeah, there is a connection there. It can offer some sense of stability, security, which is why we do what we do. There's wisdom in planning, and it does offer that. But sometimes you can take it too far to where you just think it's never enough. It's like Rockefeller when he was asked, how much more? Yeah. Just a little bit more, right?
And it's just not a healthy way to live. And we all talk about this together, the behavioral aspects of it. It's live the life that you want to while you're living it, and then plan for that life that you want to down the road. And, you know, we looked at all those numbers before. Is $1 million enough? Is now 1.5 million? Is 2 million?
Yeah.
And is it really about collecting a certain amount, or is it about, well, what's the lifestyle?
It's about lifestyle.
That's it. That's the key.
Let's answer that together.
Yeah, and I think that's what most people are asking when they come in and they're saying this. They're not saying, hey, I'm just greedy and I want more. They're saying, how do I know that I'm not going to run out? How do I know that I get to continue the lifestyle that I'm living, you know, here until I die, until I pass on, and then I don't leave my spouse in a worse spot when I'm gone, right? So it's valid that they feel that way. But I think what a lot of it, if I'm diagnosing it, it's got to do with poor planning. And it's not that you've planned poor, you haven't saved enough. It's that you do not have a good income plan in place. You do not understand how long, with inflation, the money that I have set aside will last me and my spouse throughout our life. And that's where we come in. We step in and we offer you a complimentary review of your portfolio and an analysis to see what's going on inside there, to make sure that you are positioned correctly, but also to help you with that emotional shift of, hey, we can show you in black and white and show you in truth what is going to happen, and if you will run out of money in retirement, or if you should go ahead and retire because you do have enough, and that's peace.
Well, it gives you the knowledge to be able to know your options and when you really can have confidence in pulling that trigger, saying, okay, now it's time. It's time to stop with the earning the income and begin drawing from our accounts, because we talk a lot about how knowledge plus action produces some really powerful results. So if you take this knowledge that we're talking about today, you take this, the stories we're sharing, and we learn from the experiences of other people, and we don't have the high cost of tuition by learning and making mistakes on our own. Learn from the experiences of others. Take that knowledge, but then put some action behind it. You have to combine the two, because knowledge without that action is powerless, but knowledge with the action becomes so powerful. And that can make a difference, not just in your today, not just in how you're living right now, but it can impact your retirement. It can impact your future. And what I love about it is that you can impact future generations, because as we're learning, we're teaching our kids. Our kids are going to teach their kids, just like our parents taught us. And it's something that you can pass on from generation to generation. Not just wealth. I'm talking about knowledge and understanding and putting the two together, knowledge and action. Here's the truth. Here's what's really happening. Here's the wisdom. But here's how we actually implement that, right? That's a different story. Yeah. Taking the knowledge and actually putting it to action, putting those two together can be a powerful thing.
Wonderful stories today, and just with a couple of minutes left, just a little bit of your own story. This is the mission that you've come to together, is helping people out. You're right here in Tennessee. Yeah. You're right here in the community. You've got kids in the schools here and so forth. And you want to help people. And you're going to retire here, right?
Absolutely.
You're planning this to help the community around you.
Absolutely.
And also talking about giving. I've got about a minute left. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your charitable giving to the community, Jay, before we wrap up here.
Yeah, so we want to make sure that we're living out what we're preaching here. We want to make sure that we don't just talk about generosity, but that we become generosity. You can go to our website again, allonplanning.com, and take a look at our Allon in Action initiatives. And what we're wanting to do here is partner with the community in tangible ways and say, how can we make a difference where we are right now? Not wait to make a difference when I retire, or wait to make a difference when something else is not as important right now, when I have time.
It's never going to be enough.
How do I make a difference now?
Make a difference now.
We want to help folks do that in tangible ways. Yeah. And so we would love to have your support and have you join us in that. And whether you're a client or not, let's get together and let's work to help make this community a better place for our kids and all of us to live.
Yeah.
Brittany, take us home. We got about 30 seconds. Tell them about the complete review.
Yeah, we'd love to be able to sit down with you and talk through all of these concepts we've discussed today in depth with regard to your specific situation to get you where you want to be. 866-691-7317, or use the QR code you see on the screen, and you can schedule your complimentary consultation directly from our website. Never even have to pick up the phone if you don't want to. Make it really convenient for you. No obligation, no cost, just conversation.
Thank you for watching the Allon Exchange. We'll be back with Jay and Brittany once again next week.